Hello students, I am Abhishek Bhadoria. So today we will discuss work energy principle. So basically in kinetics of particle, we will study four different methods. One is the Newton's second law, second is the D'Alembert principle, third is the work energy principle, and then fourth is the impulse momentum method. So in the previous topic we have already discussed Newton's second law and D'Alembert principles. So today we will discuss work energy principle. Okay, so basically, in the work energy principle, there is no need to find the acceleration of the particle. Okay, there is no need to find the acceleration of the particle. Wait a minute, I will take the pen so that you can understand it in a better way. Okay, in the work energy principle, there is no need to find the acceleration of the particle. So it provides quicker solution. Okay, so this is the advantage of work energy principle. Okay, so basically, what is kinetics of particle? The motion analysis of a moving particle without considering the force which is responsible for the motion. Okay, and if we talk about the work energy principle, so the work energy principle is the alternate approach to the Newton's second law. And in the work energy principle, there is no need to find the acceleration of the particle, so it provides quicker solution. Okay, and in this module we will study uh, conservation of energy method also for making the analysis when the all the conservative forces are involved in the system, right? So after studying this, basically we are going to study the conservation of energy method also for making the analysis, but this method is applicable only when only the conservative forces are available in the system. Okay, or only conservative forces are available in the problem. Okay, so what are the conservative forces? We will discuss this afterwards. Okay, so let us understand this work energy principle. So we'll understand this work energy principle with the help of derivation. Okay, so what is the situation? We have considered a collar of mass m, which is moving from position 1 to position 2. When the collar is at position 1, it is having velocity v1, and when the collar reaches position 2, it is having new velocity v2. Okay, so this collar is moving on the smooth curved guide kept on the horizontal plane. Okay, so this is the free body diagram, right? So what is ds? Ds is the small arc length traveled by the collar in time dt. Okay, so basically this collar is moving on the smooth curved guide kept on the horizontal plane. Okay, so this is the x direction and this is the y direction. Okay, so the force is acting on the collar. Okay, uh, at an angle alpha with the tangent to this curved path, right? Is it okay or not? This force is acting on the collar at an angle alpha. Okay, so this angle alpha is the angle between the force and the tangent to this curved path, right? So let us draw the equivalent kinetic diagram. So kinetic diagram is a diagram which shows the ma vector. Okay, and what is free body diagram? Free body diagram is a diagram which shows all the forces acting on the system. Okay, so let us draw the kinetic diagram. So basically here we have to show the MA vector. Okay, so basically the two components of accelerations are there. One is the normal component of acceleration denoted by an, and another one is the tangential component of acceleration denoted by at. So normal component of acceleration will always act towards the center of curvature, and the tangential component of acceleration will be tangent to this curved path. Okay, so in this way we can draw the kinetic diagram, right? Now, at an instant, with the help of Newton's second law, we will write this equation. That is, summation of force in the x direction is equal to mass into acceleration in x direction. Okay, so we can write the left hand part, that is this summation of force in the x direction, with the help of this free body diagram. Okay, so let us resolve this force. So force is acting on the collar at angle alpha, and angle alpha is the angle between the force and the tangent to this curved path. So let us resolve this. So this will be, I can say, this is f cos alpha, right, and this is f sin alpha. Wait a minute. Yeah, again I will resolve this. I pressed some wrong option actually. Yeah, so let us resolve this. So this is f cos alpha, and this is f sin alpha. Okay, so the component which is near the angle is the cos component, and the component which is away from the angle is the sine component, right? So let us write this uh, left hand side with the help of 1 minute. We'll use the pen. Okay, we'll use some different color so that you can understand in a better way. Okay, so I will write this left hand side with the help of this free body diagram. 1 minute, I will redo this. Yeah, okay, so I will write the left hand side with the help of this free body diagram. So summation of force in the x direction, so this is f cos alpha. Okay, and this is equal to m into acceleration in x direction. So in x direction, this is the m into acceleration in tangential directions. So this is the factor. So I will equate this. Okay, now this tangential acceleration can be written as dv by dt, right? So we will put dv by dt in place of acceleration in tangential direction. Okay, now this dv by dt factor, this can be written as dv by ds into ds by dt, right? So here ds is the small arc length traveled by the collar in dt time, right? Now what is this ds by dt? This ds by dt is nothing but velocity. So put the value in the above equation, so we'll get this equation. Okay, so our equation becomes F cos alpha is equal to mv into dv by ds. Right. Now just rearrange this. Take the ds factor on the left hand side. Okay, so it becomes F cos alpha into ds and it is equal to mv into dv. Now take the integration between the position 1 and position 2. Okay, what we have done here? Here we have to take the integration between the position 1 and position 2. So in position 1, I can say when the caller occupies position S1, so the caller is having velocity V1. When caller occupies position 2, that means when the caller occupies S2 position, now uh, the caller is having new velocity V2. Okay, so we have to put the lower limit and the upper limit and take the integration, right? So 1 minute. So our equation becomes this. Okay, now what does this indicate? The left hand side, this left hand side indicates the work done by the force. Okay, so what do you mean by work done by the force? The work done by the force is nothing but the product of the force and the displacement in the direction of force. Okay, now we can write basically okay, now here you take the integration of the right hand side and put the limits. So our equation will become like this. What is u12? U12 is the work done by the force. Okay, now we have taken the integration of the right hand side and we'll put the limit. Okay, so we'll get these terms. Okay, now just rearrange this so we can write the above equation in this way. Now where this is the half mv1 square is equal to t1. It is nothing but the initial kinetic energy of the caller, and this is half mv2 square. It is represented by T2 symbol. Okay, it is nothing but the final kinetic energy of the particle. So put these values in the above equation, so we'll get this equation, right? So this equation, so this is nothing but this is the equation of the work energy principle. So what does this indicate? That means this what does this equation represents? We have to discuss this. So basically this equation represents the relationship between the change in kinetic energy and the work done by the force on it. And when we extend this relation to the system of forces acting on the particle, so the work energy principle states that for a particle moving under the action of forces, the total work done by these forces is equal to change in kinetic energy, right? So this is a generalized equation for the work energy principle. Clear? So basically what can we say about this? We can say in the work energy principle there is no need to find the acceleration of the particle. Okay, and it is an alternate approach to the Newton's second law. So this principle is useful whenever the problem involves the known and unknown parameters like force, mass, velocity and displacement. Okay, what I am saying, this principle is useful whenever the problem involves the known and unknown parameters like force, mass, velocity and displacement. Okay, knowing the forces and displacement, okay, knowing the forces and displacement, we can find the velocity in new position. Okay, velocity in the new position can be obtained, and maybe in some cases knowing the initial and final velocity, knowing the initial and final velocity and the active forces, we can find the displacement of the particle. Okay, so basically I can say this principle is useful whenever the problem involves known and unknown parameters like force, mass, velocity and displacement. And when we know the force and displacement, so the velocity in the new position can be obtained. And when we know the initial and final velocity of the particle and the active forces, so the displacement of the particle can be obtained. Okay, so basically here we have talked about a single particle. Okay, what happens if the system involves more than one particle? So what we can comment when the system involves more than one particle? We can say if the system involves more than one particle, the principle can be applied to the system of particles, right? And in such cases, the total kinetic energy would be the sum of the individual kinetic energies of the different particles, and the work done would be the summation of the work done by the various forces on the individual particles, right? So in this way we can apply this work energy principle equation for making the analysis of the kinetics of particle with the help of work energy method. Okay, thank you.